Hello, this is Jerry at the movies. This week I'm going to talk about something that perplexes me in the media and their focus on celebrities' personal and private lives. The reason I bring this up is Entertainment Weekly just did the last issue. They did a little article in their video DVD section on Mel-Gibson and how this critic couldn't really look at the films of Mel Gibson anymore the way that he used to because of Mel Gibson's personal problems, as we all know from the last year or so, with his ex-girlfriend and the rants that his ranting and raving that included racial slurs of all kinds and epithets in private phone conversations with his ex-girlfriend. So they became news. And in this day and age of TMZ, and also the news media organizations in particular that operate on the same level as TMZ, in other words, they exploit. I mean, I have nothing against TMZ. You know, there's also Radar Online. There's a lot of these type of things. But the news organizations operate on the same level of exploiting the celebrities' personal lives, as if the only reason we should know these celebrities is through their personal lives. You know, they become public personas, and their life is an open book for everybody. Now, I took issue with the way Mel Gibson, I guess, was treated in the press. Not to say that it didn't deserve or merit some attention, but these were private phone conversations. Alec Baldwin went through the same thing a few years back, if you recall, with his own daughter, calling her a thoughtless little pig, because she didn't, in fact, he didn't even speak to her. This was the message he left on her phone, because she was supposed to answer the phone, I guess, when he called, and she wasn't there, and a lot of this hate was directed more to the mother, Kim Basinger, than it was to the daughter. Nevertheless, how important is it to know all this? And the issue is not very, because even the media, after a while, tends to forget. So with Alec Baldwin, it's not like they still talk about it, and he's on a top, show, 30 Rock, that still does well in the ratings, and nobody still talks about this whole issue that he had with his daughter. In fact, I don't think anybody cares, nor do they remember. But their lives become an open book, and in particular, Woody Allen. My wife had this article she set aside for me on Woody Allen. He's going to be in a PBS American Masters documentary titled, tentatively, Seriously Funny, The Comic Arc of Woody Allen, and that will debut on November 20th and 21st on PBS. Woody Allen is another issue. I mean, I love his work, but I have more issue with his work lately than I have with anything he's done privately. Because the thing is, it's not my business, and he's not a friend of mine, so I really don't care. But I guess it bothered me that the daughter that he raised, which wasn't of his own flesh and blood, but nevertheless he raised her, Soon-Yi Previn, became his wife. And this was a whole big scandal back in 1992, just around the time or before the release of his film Husbands and Wives, which was the last film that Mia Farrow starred in with Woody Allen. But the issue is, again, I just take more issue with his work from what I've seen. I've not seen all of his latest cinematic works, but some just became repetitive, and it was the same old Woody, and it wasn't anything different. Now, here some of his latest films are, in particular Midnight in Paris, but that is something I would have more issue with than what he did publicly, or privately, I should say, that became a public scandal. But nobody talks about that anymore either. 1992 was 20 years ago, and nobody seems to care. So the issue is, when do you start caring, and when do you stop caring? And it seems like there's a lifespan for scandalous behavior, which may be a few months, maybe less. Depends on how much the media focuses on it. In regards to Mel Gibson, again, I don't hate the guy, but the media painted him as the most hated man in America, and that I would take issue with. I mean, he's just an actor. He's really not that important other than the work that he makes, and whether the work is important or not is up for question, but it doesn't matter to me, personally. The titles of some of his films, I wrote an article about this, Celebrities' Private Lives. Roman-Polanski occasionally comes up in the press when he has a new film out, and it's only usually when he has a new film out. A year ago it was with The Ghost Rider, a really great film, by the way, and that was brought up, and he was detained, and again, for something that happened back in 1977. Even the victim had forgiven him for an alleged rape, and she was young, and he was doing a photo shoot, and things got carried away, so to speak, and he gave her quaaludes and so on and so forth. But this was still a while ago. I mean, should you pay for your crime? I guess so, but that's not my issue with Roman-Polanski. And I really don't like the media telling me what it is I should or should not think about a given celebrity. Lindsay-Lohan, I think, is a very talented actress, and she is not getting the attention for being an actress, but rather for getting into trouble. Some might say, well, if she's not getting into trouble, she would be taken seriously again. But the thing is that we live in a country where art is generally not given much credence or exposure. The artist is, not the art. And I think that's the real issue that I have. If we spent more time analyzing the films, or whether it's a theater, whatever it is, music, anything that somebody does for a living, that is why we know them in the first place. We don't know them through their own public lives. In other words, the reason people know Mel Gibson is because he became a superstar. He became an actor, from the Mad Max films and Lethal Weapon. He rose to international stardom. If he hadn't done those things, unless he chose some other vocation that made him a public persona, nobody would care about Mel Gibson because nobody would know who he is. So we need to bring back the focus on the art. Now, I'm not saying everyone escapes responsibility from this kind of exposure. I mean, OJ-Simpson would certainly be a case of somebody who murdered his wife and the lover. I guess for some they feel he didn't do it. He says, of course, he didn't. But hey, so those things, I think, when it comes to murder or even incest, I'm not going to say that nobody should focus on those things when it comes to celebrity or anybody. Murder, incest, rape, anything that can be classified as a crime should be reported as a crime. But when it comes to Alec Baldwin's private phone call to his daughter, and OJ-Simpson murder, there's no balance there. There should be more of a balance, and yet both receive, well, not quite the same amount of exposure, certainly, but enough exposure that takes away from devoting attention to the artist. So I would say the media should be a little bit more responsible. And we also live in an age where facts are often represented, and a 24-hour news cycle which will report just about anything without checking. So I would say give some credence back to the artist. When I plop down my $5 to rent a DVD or less, or pay for my theater ticket, I'm not thinking, what is Mel Gibson doing right this second that would annoy me, frustrate me, or make me hate him? I'd rather say, I'm seeing a new Mel Gibson film, let's check it out. Not that I'm the biggest fan of Mel Gibson currently, because of some of the films he's done, but I am a fan of the older Mel Gibson from Gallipoli and Mad Max and so on. But the point is, That's what you should think about. If you go into a movie theater and you think about what it is that this public persona, this actor, this director, whatever it is doing at that second that might annoy you or frustrate you, then maybe you shouldn't really watch any movies with anybody, because at some point someone's going to annoy you, even if it's the slightest thing or the most extreme. And that's all I've got to say about that. So this is Jerry the Movies, signing off.